Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Coming to you live from the Krishna House. It is your weekly talk show event, Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday! We are Krishna Lunch, Krishna House family are continuing our weekly talk show where we try to deliver some of this amazing knowledge that has helped our lives so very much. This knowledge is timeless, it's ancient, it's amazing. And it helps us navigate through this world so that we can have a great life and continue on into further lifetimes of bliss, enjoyment, and knowledge. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our very esteemed guest, the guru, teacher, mentor of the Krishna House community, Her Grace Prabhupada Priya. Thank you so much for coming. How you doing today?
Good. Yeah, it's been a rainy day, but we did everything that we had to do despite all that. So, yeah, feeling good.
There you go. Wonderful. I couldn't have picked a better person or couldn't have been graced by a better person to come here and talk today about a very special topic, which is relationships. And how can we know which ones are for real and which ones are not so much? Because if we look at it, relationships are really what we're all striving for. They can make even the bleakest of times feel amazing. And even though we're in such a nice position like rich or fame, without a deep spiritual or a personal connection with somebody, life just feels empty. You know, we can see this in our celebrities and our wealthy people. There's so much suicide, so much overdose, nasty things come about when we don't feel connected. So we're going to try and debunk this seemingly impossible feat of opening up and connecting with real people, even in this socio-technological age. So without further ado, let's dive in. I just wanted to get a conversation started about relationships and, you know, why do we make friends with some people and others we don't seem to click with?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with our values. You know, like everyone has their core values, and maybe it came from, you know, the way that they were brought up, values that were passed down from their parents, or just things that they learned through experiences in life about what's important, what really matters. And when two people agree on core values, like what the priorities in life are, what really matters, then that can form the basis for a very deep relationship. Whereas if it's just superficial, you know, if it's just like a pretty face or, you know, an attractive form, or somebody does things that you like, of course that there's also a way that you can connect, at least initially, but it's not something that's going to last, you know, in the long run. So in order for this deeper connections to happen, it has to really be on the level of like values, I believe.
There's something much deeper than the body.
Yeah.
Getting into the core of who we are. That's
right, yeah. Because the body, I mean, is just a temporary covering of the soul. And really we want to connect on the level of soul because that's who we are. You know, the body is, there's a book that we read, it's one of our main scriptures, it's called the Bhagavad Gita. And it talks about how the body is like clothing. That just like, you know, you wear your clothes and then when they get worn out or they get dirty, you take off those, throw them away or put them to wash and put on a new set of clothes. So this material body that we have is like clothing for the soul. That then it goes on to say that at the time of death, when the body's worn out, also we leave the body and potentially take on another body. So yeah, the body is not our identity. It's not who we are. Who we are is the soul inside the body. So if we're only connecting on the basis of the body, it's just like saying somebody like, oh, I really like your clothes, you know, we should hook up. We have the same style of clothes, we fit, you know?
Oh, this is actually my dad's shirt.
Or actually, I don't really like this shirt.
Yeah.
It's a total misrepresentation.
It's laundry day. It's the last one I had.
Yeah. And it's actually, you know, it's actually like, we do get attracted to people because of their clothes, and that's why the clothing industry is such a huge industry, because we're so superficial. We want to, like, we think we look good. Someone's gonna like my shirt or like my pants or like my whatever that I'm wearing, and they're gonna think I'm a cool person and they're gonna want to hook up with me. And they're thinking that if the person that I like doesn't like me, it's because I'm wearing the wrong thing. So I need to go shopping, have a new look.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we can't go shopping for a new body. We've got what we've got. But the point is that it's not who we are. And so, I mean, well, you know, it's important, especially, you know, like a boy-girl or husband-wife relationship, there should be some physical attraction that's important. But it's not the main thing. And if that's all there is, then it may not last very long. Especially because when you get old, you know, the good looks kind of wears off.
Oh man, you're breaking my whole world over here.
Don't want to disappoint anyone.
Shattered. Well, it's interesting you bring that up because it seems like we're so far removed from considering values or even understanding what our values are. You know, you brought up that people really, they associate with their clothes or identify with their clothes so much or their outward appearance so much that even to consider something deeper is like way far away. You know, like they're thinking, okay, I'm not superficial about the clothes, but you know, I do want someone who's blonde or has blue eyes or big muscles or something like that.
Right.
And you're saying we should take it even one step further to get off the bodily platform, go to something more intrinsic to our being. And to do that, I think we have to at least start with, all right, what are my values? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of us don't even think about it. We don't even know what our values are as individuals. Especially when you're young and you're still kind of like forming your values. And then let's say, and values are things that can change. So you have to think, well, what are my values based on? Where did I get these values? Because sometimes we may actually hold values, we may have core values that are not helping us. They're not serving us well, you know? And so it may be something that we need to look at, adjusting our value system so that they actually serve our needs and help us to grow as individuals. And that's one nice thing about relationships is that sometimes we can get to know a person, and when we actually start talking about these deeper things, asking them the deeper questions about what's important and what their goals in life are, what they think their purpose in life are, what are their priorities, then we can actually, you know, when we hear other people talk about their values, it helps us reflect on our own, you know, and really kind of like be a little self-critical. And think, wow, this person has a value which maybe I should also have, and I'm valuing something that's probably could not be good for me. It's not helping me in my life. And so relationships can help us grow in that way because we can learn from others. And we can update our values when we get different perspectives, because you know our personal experiences are very limited, but when we you know, through relationships with other people, we can benefit from their experiences and the lessons that they've learned in life. And yeah, relationships help us to broaden our horizons and make us aware of new possibilities and potential for growth.
Yeah, a lot of people like to think that they're really independent, but actually all of our values or our philosophy on life, it comes from what we've heard. So most of us are hearing pretty mundane things, you know, either through the television or through this music, or even just associating with the people we've been associating with. The culture is in such a way that the values are pretty much like wealth, sex, and any kind of enjoyment.
Yeah.
On that plane. So it's interesting that you're saying relationships can improve our values, which improves the kind of relationships we have. It's like momentous.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, we have to definitely, now there's so much exposure to media, so we have to really use filters, you know, when we tune into the media, because it's not that the media doesn't have a purpose or you know, they have an objective. They're trying to convince us of their values. They're trying to make their values our values, and their values tend to be very mundane, and we can be, you know, sort of like manipulated by media values. And so we have to be careful about that, because that doesn't help us. And what were you saying there?
That it's momentous. That if we find ourselves in good friendships, good association, this association can uplift us, bring us up.
Yeah.
And then when we're uplifted, we seek out more association that's uplifting. It's like,
that's right,
you kind of get fixed on this amazing people.
Yeah, it's like a snowball effect. You know, you meet one amazing person, and then you you become a better person.
Yeah.
And then that new better person, which is you, is able to meet more, even better people.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like, your life just gets better and better. So it's really important who we associate with, who our friends are, because there's a saying that, just tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah.
Because, we're like little sponges, as much as we might not like to admit it, but we really soak up ideas and ways of being from the people that we spend time with.
Yeah, the kids these days say your vibe attracts your tribe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
So the question then comes, how can we tell if a relationship or if some information is draining or gaining?
Well, we have to trust our feelings. Our emotions are actually our best friends oftentimes. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not very in tune with their emotions. Yeah. But if we really, we need to, sort of like be very reflective and introspective and let our emotions guide us. Because if we're going into a relationship and, maybe the person's attractive, they're exciting, it's all very thrilling, but at the same time, there's kind of like a deep feeling of, fear or anxiety or, that there's a gut feeling that this is not going the way I want to go. It's uncomfortable. Then we have to consider whether it's uncomfortable in a good way or a bad way, because it may be uncomfortable in a good way, that it's pulling us out of our comfort zone and helping us to grow. Yeah. So that's good. We should be willing to stretch with it if we're stretching, upward in a positive way. But it's uncomfortable in a bad way if it's taking us away from the kind of person that we really want to be. It's taking us away from our, our vision for our future. And then, we need to really trust our feelings. And it doesn't matter how good looking the person is, how much money they have, how intelligent they seem to be, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. Because coronavirus can just come and ruin all of that anyway.
That was kind of random, but yeah.
So you're saying basically, once we have a clear conception of our goals, of our direction, of who we want to be, of what we want to experience, what kind of life we want to have, then we can tell when certain relationships or certain situations are keeping us from that or are propelling us towards that.
Yeah, so it's very important to know, first of all, who we are, what our values are, and what we want. What do we want to do with our lives? What do we want to achieve in life? And then, of course, we're not just, seeing the person as somebody who's going to help us achieve our goals. It's two ways, but it's reciprocal. And, but it should be that we know who we are and where we're at. We're very honest about that. And we're also happy in ourselves. We're not looking for, we're not like a broken puzzle piece looking for, someone to make us complete, but we're actually like feeling whole in ourselves. And then we're going to a relationship as a whole, happy person with clear objectives. And then it doesn't become like a codependency thing, but it's rather that, I'm, a really well-situated person and I really want to be with you because you make me happy. And then the other person is like that, and then you can support each other and do wonderful things together.
That sounds really nice. But really hard to get to. So how do we strengthen our self-confidence, our self-awareness? How do we be this well-situated person where then we can make intelligent decisions that aren't just desperate needs for attention?
Yeah, well, we need to work on ourselves and think about, what our needs are. It's good to even write things down, get into a really reflective mode and do a lot of journaling and, look at things that upset us, things that get us into like a negative mental spin and just write it all out. And that way we can learn more about ourselves and what our needs are, what our shortcomings are, and we can try to work on those in different ways. But the first thing is recognizing them, and then we can talk to people who can help us, like life coaches or counselors or older friends or parents, teachers. There's plenty of people who have lots of life experience that know who can help guide us to, become more well-rounded people.
And it's really exciting because it may seem scary to behave in a way that is not normal in terms of regular society or what we've experienced. That when someone is focused, they've set the goal that I want to know who I am, I want to be self-satisfied, or I want to be happy and undisturbed in all situations. And this is possible. And so when someone takes up this path, they start behaving in maybe different ways than they used to, or maybe different ways than their friends do. And it can be a little bit scarier, kind of, you know, there's some friction there with like, oh, you know, you're not criticizing or joking other people, you know, you're not indulging in these negative conversations or just kind of useless, mindless talk, or when you're trying to kind of go upstream, it can be hard. So do you have any words of advice or of encouragement to people who are in this stage where they want to be better, they know they should be better, they're seeking or desiring a better life for themselves, but are just finding it so difficult to start that transformation?
Yeah, well, again, it comes back to relationships, because the way to have the strength to go against the current is to, you know, be with friends. You know, it's like when the geese are flying in the V formation, you know, the birds in the front are actually like breaking the wind for the ones in the back, so that they can just kind of like fly along in the wake of the one in front of them. So, you know, if the birds were trying to fly alone, they would never make it to their migration spot. But because they get in that formation, then most of them can just kind of glide along behind the ones in the front, and then they change position when they get tired. So they carry each other along. So in the same way, if we find people that have the same goals in life, the same values, and then we, you know, form close relationships with them, and we can form very deep relationships with them because of the shared values, then we can closely connect with them, and we can get strength from them, and we can go forward together in a really determined way, so that nothing can stop us. So that's very important. And you know, spiritual values, I would say that for me, the deepest connection is on the level of spiritual values. Like what, you know, if you want to have a strong relationship with God, then you really need to be in a relationship with somebody else who's really into having a strong relationship with God. And you need to ask those questions, you know, because I remember one time when I was younger, I had a boyfriend, and we got along in many ways, but then after some stage in the relationship, I was just like, oh my God, because I was a religious person. And I thought, oh my God, I never asked him I never even asked him if he believes in God or not. You know, I'm just, what's wrong with me? And then, you know, it got to the point where it was like a thing, you know, and it turned out that he didn't, and he was like not really into it, and that was the end of the relationship, unfortunately. But yeah, so we need to ask the big questions, especially when those things are important to us, and they should be important to us. And it's worth it. And if the person doesn't, you know, support us in our key areas of life, then it's probably not going to work. So we got to figure all that stuff out.
Can we be confident that there is someone who will complement our values? Because a lot of times we have this friend group, and it's been so long maybe that we're in this friendship that to separate is very scary, especially in this common day and age. It is common, for people to be socially anxious, to be a little bit isolated, to be, you know, rightfully so cautious. And so it's becoming more and more hard to cultivate new relationships. So I guess I'm asking, what is the balance between working on our existing relationships and saying, okay, this is just not going to work, like we should, you know, part ways, best of luck in your life, let me try and find somebody new?
Well, generally, you know, if you want to work on the relationship, but the other person is not willing to work on the relationship, then you may as well just give up the relationship. It's like, but if you're both willing to work on the relationship, then there's a pretty good chance that it's worth working on. You know, you're both willing to invest the time and energy into making it work, then it'll work. But if it's kind of like you want to make it work, but the other person's not really interested, or, you know, just not willing to bother to take the time and energy to make it work, then, you know, the person's just really not worth it. You deserve someone better. You deserve somebody who's going to actually be willing to do what it takes to make it work.
Here's an interesting question. We were talking about relationships can nourish us, support us to rise to higher states of existence.
Mm-hmm.
So can we experience that connection or nourishment from people who aren't physically present with us?
Like who?
Like a memory of like my grandma or my grandpa, or a spiritual master, a teacher.
Right.
You're talking about God. Personally, I like to pray. I like to meditate on people who I look up to. Before it was like Kurt Cobain, but now it's more like Srila Prabhupada, the founder of this movement, or other people. Martin Luther King is very inspiring to me as well. And can we really feel tangible nourishment from these personalities that have lived before, or maybe are just in a different place, like a parent or an older brother or a coach that we've had in the past?
Well, people are, there are many good examples. We can learn from their examples and their lives and inspiring accomplishments. We can, take inspiration from. But when it comes to like very highly spiritually advanced personalities, like, obviously God is, way up there.
Yeah.
So
he can do anything, right?
He can do anything. So God is, he's omniscient. He's omnipresent. So yeah, he's always there for us, and we can definitely be supported by God every second. If we just have the interest to be, if we just reach out to him, he's always right there to help us. But even highly advanced spiritual personalities, like you talked about, Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement. We know that the soul is eternal. So even though the person is not, physically present with us, even though they've passed away, so to speak, they're still somewhere. They're still living somewhere, and because their consciousness is beyond like the consciousness of an ordinary human being, they can to some degree be aware of our experiences. And if we call out to them in prayer, they can help us. So that's definitely,
this is
a real thing.
One of my favorite facets of a spiritual life is that we can feel connection, or we can uplift ourselves, we can elevate in any situation. Any situation can be a spiritual upliftment.
Yeah.
If we're trying, if we're endeavoring to be uplifted, then any situation can be that cause for upliftment.
Yeah. For me, the upliftment is, really connecting to God, because ultimately God is our best friend. He's the one who's always there for us. He knows our thoughts and our innermost feelings. He knows everything that we've been through. He knows our hopes and dreams and aspirations. And he has the power to help us, and he wants to help us. So all we have to do is connect with him and be open to receive his grace, to receive his mercy and his guidance. And the best way to connect with him is to chant his holy names. So that's why we as devotees of Krishna or Hare Krishnas, we're always chanting Hare Krishna. And so most of you know the mantra, so we'll just chant it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So by chanting these names of God, then we can, it helps us to come closer in relationship to God. And when our relationship with God is good, then he also helps us, he guides us to people who can help us grow in our relationship with him. And that way we can have deep spiritual relationships with friends and family and teachers and all kinds of people, and live a God-centered life, which is a very pure and uplifting life.
You mentioned people to help us grow, and unfortunately a lot of times that means struggle or letting go of certain things that are weighing us down.
Yeah.
So how do we understand this in terms of a friend? Like, a lot of times we think of a friend as someone that is encouraging and being nice to us and listening when we have problems. is there an aspect of a friendship that can be a little bit rough, a little bit, was it fictitious? Is that a word? Causing, you know,
yeah, it's like
kick in the pants, you know.
So someone was telling me the other day that she was talking to a friend, and this friend had like some spinach stuck in her teeth, right? So there were three women having a conversation, and then after a while, one of them says, you know, you got some spinach or something, some green thing stuck in your teeth. And then she looks at the two of them. She says, now I know which one is my real friend. So a true friend is one that does, you know, sometimes point out our defects, but with a desire to help us, you know, because she's thinking, it wasn't a fault-finding thing like, you got this ugly green thing. It was like, I want her to know it so she can remove it so that she doesn't, you know, feel embarrassed later when she knows that she talked to 15 people with that green thing. So, yeah. And also that it's by friction, you know, that things become smooth, right? When water flows over the stones over many years, it becomes smooth. When we use sandpaper to sand a piece of wood, it becomes smooth. So we should be open to relationships that do rub us a little bit the wrong way, because that can help us to improve.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of balance is needed. And maybe this is no surprise to some or all, but there are certain people that fulfill or complement certain needs or aspects of ourselves. And so it's not that one person is going to fulfill us completely in terms of, you know, these human relationships that we have.
Yeah.
And maybe that point doesn't always sink in so deeply because we think this is my best friend. You know, I do everything with this best friend.
Yeah.
And we expect this best friend to be everything that we need. But it doesn't work that way because people are different.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm trying to say that, like it or not, we need to diversify our association or come to a platform of a relationship with God, because the idea of God is that everything comes from Him, that He is the reservoir, the embodiment of everything. This is what is meant by God. So in comprised in everything is what we're looking for. And so if we have this relationship, that is one person that can fulfill us completely in every way. But until we feel that wholesome connection with the Supreme, it's important to diversify our association and understand and accept that this person is not going to be able to fulfill everything I need. This other person is not going to fulfill everything I need. So I need to associate with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, we shouldn't restrict ourselves to one person, even in, you know, sometimes two people fall in love and then they think that the only two people that exist in the world is them. And then, you know, that doesn't last very long because it's just too intense. It's like too much pressure on one person. So we should have, you know, also our friends, and we should maintain relationships with family. And, you know, like the whole extended family system in India was good because it was a more stable situation because there was always someone that you could talk to, you know. Whereas like nuclear family or just, you know, a couple living on their own, it's just too intense and it ends up being like, you know, so much conflict all the time.
Yeah.
Because you expect that one person to, you know, satisfy all your needs, and they're just not capable because they're limited. We're limited. So we need to have lots of different people in our lives who help us in different ways. But ultimately, again, it comes back to the same thing, is that the relationship, we need to have the relationship, a good relationship with that person who is unlimited. And that's God or Krishna. And he can really satisfy all of our needs. So we need to, as far as possible, though we may not be connecting with him enough that we can feel that satisfaction from that relationship yet, but we need to really work towards that and invest in that, like solidly invest in that and pray for that. And then it will definitely happen because God helps those who help themselves. And it said that for every one step that we take towards him, he takes 10 steps towards us. So we just need to make a little effort and everything will become wonderful very quickly.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this week's installment of Taco Tuesday. I'd like to give a big thanks to my dear friend and mentor, Prabhupada Priya.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. And I hope you've all enjoyed this discussion.
Is there any closing remarks? Just maybe summarize a little bit for us at home, take a little nugget away. Who are our real friends? Question.
Oh, that was directed to me?
Yeah.
I thought he was asking you guys out there in the audience. You can all note it down on a piece of paper and tell us next time. Our real friends, I feel, are those that help us to understand our real selves. And our real self is the soul. And the soul's goal is to connect with God. So when we connect as souls, as individual souls, together with other individual souls in a relationship with the Supreme Soul of God, then that's really the perfection of friendship.
All right. Happy connecting, you guys.
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Whoa.
Whoa.